So thank you for being here. Let's get started. Future focused. This is I have Drew and Lynn here with me, and they're just gonna give them a brief intro about themselves here. What do you want us to know about you? What's your favorite neighborhood?
Since you looked at me like, you want to go
I
first?
know.
No, I don't care.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Lynn Hamilton. I'm currently serving as the lead instructor for Samson Properties. I've been in the real estate industry for about 20 years. Came into it with 20 years, I know I'm old, in sales and marketing. So I came in with a whole different background than a lot of agents did. Was very blessed. My first transaction was within 2 weeks of me getting my license at $750,000.
Do it.
So that wasn't too shabby to start off with. Originally from San Diego, born and raised out there. We moved here 10 years ago when my 6.5-year-old grandson looked at me and says, "Well, you can't leave. You haven't seen a deer yet."
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we're here.
Now
Yes,
you're here forever.
But yeah, I've as I again been in the industry for a long time. Have been blessed that I have been able to be connected with and exposed with some of the great trainers in the industry, and now I just love to be able to hand it back to you on a silver platter. So we're an open book.
Sweet. All right, so my name's Drew DeMaree. My last name is impossible to say. It's French, but I'm from Indiana. Not sure what happened there.
I was definitely saying it wrong.
So just call me Drew. So I've been in the industry for going on 20 years, 2005. So I'm going into my 20th year. How I remember.
We started right after kindergarten, in case y'all are wondering.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But I got into real estate in 2005 out of necessity. My wife and I had found out that we were pregnant, and I worked at Nordstrom at the time, and it's just the rigor of retail. Anybody worked retail?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need some freedom. I need some flexibility. I need to actually be home on the holidays. So I got into real estate. Big shocker. That's not the flexibility of the job, right? But we decided to move. Long story short, we started to move to a smaller town where our parents were from. I didn't ask questions. When I moved there, I went to the mall, and there was a Value City and a Lowe's. And I was like, I'm from Nordstrom, where they're in big towns, big cities. It was Lynchburg, Virginia. And I was like, where the hell did we move? So I knew no one. Knew nothing about real estate, but I knew I had a newborn baby that needed some food. Hustled really hard, 2005, 2006, 2007. Rockstar years, everybody knows 2008. It was very humbling. I was like, oh, I actually have to work. Long story short with that is within 3 years after 2008, so I opened my own independent brokerage, 43 agents. We were the top producing brokerage for 5 years consecutively. And then Keller Williams Realty, a franchise, knocked on our door and said, hey, we'd like to come to this territory. Normally you have to buy in, but you guys are producing at a really high level. We just want to get you in and get the document signed. So we flipped to a franchise. Then we moved to Richmond, Virginia after I launched that, and I stayed with KW for another 10 years. I say all that because I kind of felt this yearning to do something more than just buy and sell houses. So they put me in as a productivity coach. At the time, they didn't even know what that title was. I had no idea what I was doing, and they had no idea what I was supposed to do. So it was an interesting learning curve. I started with 5 agents, and then I got to 75 agents with 2 assistant coaches. Burnout was hardcore. And so long story short, I realized I kind of need to do it my way. So I'm an independent coach now. Left Keller Williams just under 4 years ago, and went independent. And I was choosing a name, and I was like, you know what? It's Freedom is the company that I want to choose, because the whole point 20 years ago was to gain that freedom. And I'll do anything I can to help any real estate agent or any entrepreneur find their freedom, because there's days where you feel like you're working for someone, even though you're not. And I want to help that. So that's where we are today. I coach in 5 different states and in Canada. And I'm within 60 different brokerages. So I've seen every flavor and size of a brokerage. I've seen every CRM, most likely, database. So I think that gives some perspective of just kind of a third party looking in.
Awesome. Great. Well, let's get into some of these questions, right?
Sure.
How can realtors set and track realistic goals that lead to consistent growth?
Go.
I'll go.
Okay.
So, part of my background too, like his, is coaching and training. I've coached and trained 6,000 agents. Currently with Samson, we've got 38 offices in 5 states, including the state of confusion. I'm licensed in 3 states, California, Virginia, and the state of confusion, because they are very, very different. But what I have found is the similarities across the board, regardless of what state we're in, including that state of confusion. So I think what is important for agents to understand is you are an independent contractor. The good news is you're your own boss. The bad news, you're your own boss.
Yeah.
Many of you left the corporate world because you had an idiot for a boss. Some of you still have that same boss. Hear my heart, forgive my mouth. I'm just saying. Forgot to warn them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
But I think when it comes to setting goals, you've got to step back and say, what's important to me? Because what's important to you may not be what's important to you. So you really have to step back and start with, what's your big why? Why are you in this business? Why are you willing to get up in the morning when life is throwing you a curveball and make it happen? And once you've got that clarity of your big why and what the financial goal is, because you're working, you're working for a lot of different reasons, but bottom line is you're working for money. You're working to make a living. So how much is that? $5? I'll give you $5 and you're done. But you need to decide what it is that you need and want. From there, you back it out with, what do I need to do in order to make that happen? Because I got a news flash for you. Business doesn't fall from the sky. Okay, in case y'all figured it out. Now, when we got 2% interest and 2% interest only, you remember those, stated income yield.
I mean, that's technically fell from the sky, though.
Huh? That was
Back then,
it fell from the sky
That
then.
didn't-
And a lot of agents came into the business thinking that's how it was going to be. And then when things changed,
When
it
they
was like,
regulated it.
what do you mean? We have to work. You have to have a business. You have to have things in place and systems in order. I jokingly sit back and laugh when people talk about, when they were in the business, way back when, and they saw the market go up and then they saw the market crashed. Who else saw that market crash? Anybody? And you couldn't bother to call me and tell me
Yeah,
the
exactly.
market. I missed it
Yeah.
because I had learned a technique from one of the coaching sessions I had gone to on recession-proof marketing and nailed it. I never felt the crash. I would go to the office. I was with KW in California,
That's
San
funny.
Diego, and agents were saying, oh my God, I'd give anything for a transaction. I'm going, I'd give anything for a day off. I got money in the bank, let's go. But my big why was keeping my daughter's college paid.
Yeah.
That was my big why. And even during the time that the market was crazy or life was crazy and
Yeah, bills
family
to
members
pay.
dying and, my best friend and real estate partner was diagnosed with cancer and died a year and a half later, I still had to get up and go
Yeah.
because I had my big why.
Oh.
And without that, life is going to throw you curveballs that you don't get to vote on. So I think, mindset, once you've determined your goals, knowing that life's going to dish out stuff that you don't get to vote on, how do you pull yourself back up when life is giving you one of those days? Okay, whether it's prayer, meditation, music, books, whatever it is, what is your go-to source to pull you back up? Because you've got to have it. Because this industry is like a roller coaster ride. Highs are highs, lows are lows. And so once you've got that in place, then God gave us 2 eyes for a reason, I think. We're visual. We're visual creatures. So I firmly believe having the goals written down, broken down, you can adjust them as you need to, but vision boards, and I was so excited to see you guys are doing vision boards. Okay, who knows who Steve Harvey is? Does he have more money than you do?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Probably.
Okay, yeah. Leave it. He still does vision boards with his team for not only his personal, his books, his TV, and his radio stuff.
Yeah, I
He
love
still has vision boards. I figure if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And the art of doing the vision board is it programs into our brain, and then our brains replay that 10,000 times. So just the act of thinking and doing it, you want to do something, a bonus with it? Take a picture of it, put it as your screensaver on your phone or the screensaver on your computer. When it pops up, you're not going to sit there and study it, but the brain's going to go, oh, I know what that is because I remember we put it together. So I want to do this, 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 and this, and this. And that's what your brain starts replaying, not all the other negative, yuck, that's out there. So, yucca gucca, that's a technical term.
How do you spell
Sounds
that?
Come from that state of
confusion.
So, but again, you know, taking into consideration, what is your life like?
Yeah.
What is going on in your world? If you're caregiver for adult parents, you got some adjustments to make. If you got a life, you got adjustments to make. But I always say too, when you've got your schedule mapped out, and I think you probably agree to this,
Oh, man.
once you've got your schedule mapped out, if you have to erase something, you have to move it and replace it. Okay, it doesn't come off and it doesn't just not get done. It's got to be moved over. Color coding calendars, absolutely. But I think, again, starting with what's your big why, mapping out what is your target you're wanting to hit. And I wouldn't do 12 months, by the way. I mean, I kind of sort of would. There's a great book, The 12-Week Year.
Favorite book.
Love it. Okay, when you think of a year, oh, I can do it later. You know, because holidays are coming.
Are you guys best friends now?
We are.
Okay.
We are.
Like,
So,
favorite book.
you know, so when you're thinking of a year, it's too easy to go, well, I'll wait until January. Well, January's gonna snow or something's gonna happen. And then February, well, we've got the Valentine's Day, and then we've got Easter coming, and then we got family coming in, and then of course we gotta get ready for graduation and all the weddings that happen in the summer, and then we got summer vacation, so I can put it off till later, because I still have 4 months in the year to do, and then all of a
so
sudden,
slow.
I know, and then it's the holiday season, so now we can't do it till then all of a sudden the year is gone. But if you chop it down, what are the things I need to get done this quarter?
100%.
You will be amazed at what you can get done. So if you know someone that's gonna ask you what you want for Christmas, a couple books, we'll give you our list at the end.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a
okay.
list actually.
I do too. 12-week year is one of them. What to
Atomic
say,
Habits. Have you read Atomic Habits?
Reading that now.
yeah, what to say when you talk to yourself,
Yep.
mindset, oh my God, mine looks like a coloring book.
Your
It's a-
big, yeah,
Yeah.
why by
Your big why,
Samson.
the one thing,
Something.
yeah.
Yeah, we can give you a list.
Great
You
books.
wanna
And
tell-
I will email that out if you
Yes.
give it to us.
Oh,
I will
yeah,
email it out to
definitely.
everybody.
Yeah,
So you don't have to
we
write
always got a
them all.
follow-up email, but Drew, what do you wanna,
Yeah.
So I'll just add to a couple things because some of it's overlap and I don't want to repeat. The first thing is what she was talking about, the 12-week year. I'm a big fan of that. We use a tool called a GPS. It was back in the KW days 10 years ago, but it's goal, priorities, strategies. And so I'd say it's kind of like a recipe of a cake. If I'm going to make a chocolate cake, a strawberry cake, and a German chocolate cake, they have all slightly different ingredients, right? So everybody's you all have different ingredients to what you're trying to accomplish, right? And so I coach a couple people in the room, like we build a GPS from the jump. We sit down, I throw all of it kind of on a dry erase board, throw all your ideas. Because what I realized is that we don't lack ideas, we lack implementation.
Mhm.
And so realtors, we go to all these trainings and all these panels and we hear all these amazing things. And then we're like, oh crap. And I call it a lily pad. You just jump to one idea to another idea, but you never actually execute one of them, right? So it's literally that's the first thing I would say is you have to map it out, but simplify it. When I see people's plans, it's like you're running for Congress or the president. Like slow and steady, simplify it. Like it doesn't need to be the 10 Commandments. It needs to be something that's manageable. Because the second thing, like she was alluding to, visualization. I want you to print that GPS off, and I want you to use it like a grocery list. Anybody ever been to the grocery store without a list? Anybody? What happens? What happens?
Trapped.
You forget something.
You spend all your money.
You spend more money than you should have, right? Those
Realize how
damn
hungry you
Oreos
are.
end up in the
Get
cart,
all
and
the
you're like, how'd
snacks.
that happen, right?
Yeah.
You're wandering around, you're going from one aisle, then you're like, crap, I forgot something, so you're going back to that second aisle, then men are
Yeah.
notorious, you see us wandering around all the time, right? And the thing is, I really feel like real estate agents, we wander around like we do in a grocery store without a list. If I have a list and it's so organized where I know it's the bakery department, the dairy department, I go, this is what I need, this is the quantity I need, this is what I need to go. So it's efficiency. And I think the first thing is build your 12-week plan to a point where it's like a grocery list. It's so simple. 12 eggs, it's 1 loaf of bread, like it's very quantitative. Like make some calls, that's not measurable, right? Make 5 calls a day, that's a measurable thing. Did I do it or did I not? Cross it off. And so I use the GPS to a point where we use it religiously. I put on a spreadsheet basically, and I highlighted in red what you're focusing on, and then once you accomplish it, we cross it off, right? And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, have you ever heard of what we call SMART goals? Everybody's heard that term. I think we're missing the ER, which is the evaluate and reward. So all of us, October, November, December, January, create these goals. And then I always ask people in June and July, where is your plan? Or like it's on the floorboard of my car, or I don't know where it is, or it's sitting in my computer just in a file somewhere. So the E is for evaluation. Like, how do you know what you're actually doing, what your progress is, what your gap is there? So SMART isn't good enough anymore. We're getting too sophisticated.
Smarter.
It's smarter. The R is reward. We all, grown adults, kids, we need a carrot. We need something to dangle in front of us. And it's also embedded in our brains. And so I tell people, I want you to create a reward in 12 weeks that's something you can buy. It could be $5 or $500. But the reason why you do that is it anchors that you actually win. So I give you an example. I had a goal, launching a new company, just quit Keller Williams, steady income, started an independent coaching company in the middle of the pandemic. My wife gets diagnosed with breast cancer stage 4, so we're going through all that. I'm just saying, like, I had to have a win. I had to figure out a way where I could still push through the crap of life and still win. So at the end of the 12 weeks, I said I need 35 clients. I need to replace my income from where I was. Hit that goal, bought myself a watch. Not inexpensive, it's $1,500 watch. It wasn't bad. Every time I look at that watch, every time I wear that watch, it anchors that I did the hard stuff to hit my goal in 12 weeks. And we need that, you know? So maybe it's buying a purse, maybe it's buying...
Diamonds are always on sale, by the way, just letting you know.
But sometimes it's just even the inexpensive things. So that's what I would say there. Smarter, 12 weeks we said, and then that visual cross that stuff off. Because you all are super smart, you all have great ideas, and you probably even built a plan, but do you actually use it day in and day out? Do you check it like you do TikTok and Instagram and email? You probably don't. You probably look at it once or twice a year and scoot it along, and that's why there's lack of implementation.
And I have a goal sheet, or kind of a daily task, and then the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll get it to you, and if you can get it out to them, that'd be awesome. In piggybacking off of that, what I teach is 5 calls a day, the days that you are working. Now again, not 7 days a week, but the days that you are working your business. It's 5 calls, 4 emails, 3 text messages, 2 market updates to someone that you know, and then add 1 new person to your database. So that's your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you've done that, and the other things is on your basic, to-do list, you kind of got your work done. Because
and that's your grocery list, right?
Yeah, there you go. Because if you were to go and have a job someplace else, you knew what time you had to report in and what your tasks were. We still need it. We still need it in this industry.
So is that list or whatever you just the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Is that would you include that in some of the sales techniques that can help realtors close more deals?
Yeah, because once they're consistently reaching out and touching base with people, again, I think one of the common mistakes, I've done a whole series of common mistakes agents make. One of them was, being unrealistic. Well, I sent out a newsletter and nobody called. Duh. Okay, I don't care how cute your picture is. I don't care how great the articles were in there. They will not call you until their home no longer meets their needs and they need to sell. The reason you do the regular touch points is to stay top of mind, okay? Has anybody heard of McDonald's?
No.
They still advertise after all these years. Why? They want to be top of mind when you decide you're hungry, you're thirsty, you need to get off the 95 because you've been sitting there for an hour, or you need to use the restroom. Now, there's other options there when you get off, but that's why they still advertise. And if you take a look, again, this Marketing 101, they are usually located at a strategic intersection or an on or off ramp, okay? This is marketing. And I think a common mistake that agents make is they don't understand marketing. They're looking to do this, but you got to do this in order to be able to get to this. So that's where the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 comes in. Is you're making those contacts, you're bringing information of value. You are not calling them and asking, so you ready to buy or sell yet? I'll have a whole topic on that one later. And you never want to ask them, so who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling? Because unless they're psychic or psycho, they do not know what people are thinking. I'm just letting you know. So the purpose of marketing is to stay top of mind. Psycho, one of the two, pick. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and again, the newsletters, the blog, all this stuff is all to stay top of mind. And the best, I'll give it to you, the best tagline you guys can use is when your home no longer meets your needs, I'm here for you.
Yep.
Game changer.
100%.
Can I jump in? Like I'm part of this panel.
Yeah, do it.
So I'm listening to you guys. So I was just listening to this podcast of Diary CEO, and he was talking to this person that's like a human biologist and neurologist, and they do all these studies on
Stuff like that.
happiness and stuff like that. And so I'm listening to what you guys are saying, and I'm one of those people that has to tie it in. I have to figure out why it works like that. So you're saying the why, and you're saying the yearly goal at the end, and you're saying cross things off. So in this podcast I was listening to, he was talking about how those intermittent goals are so important, but you have to make sure that they're intermittent in your mind.
100%.
Because otherwise you get that dopamine hit and then you lose your motivation to keep going because you're like, I did it, I'm fine,
Willpower
why can't I
kicks
stick
in,
with it?
And you're like, I want to get that donut.
Right, exactly. So you have to have them, but they're intermittent, and they have to be intermittent when you make them, and know that that's not the end. The why is the biggest thing. And I couldn't understand. Everybody says the why, your why, your why. And I'm like, why is my why and so important in my brain?
Yeah.
The function is because it gets you past the intermittent goals. So that
100%.
becomes your big goal. So if my goal is to pass on a thriving business and some real estate to my kids, then I have to get past my intermittent goal of best Christmas this year, or I'm going to buy a new car, I'm going to pay off my car this year. So that was really cool. How
And
to
your
listen
why
to you
changes
guys
too,
connect.
right? So
Yeah.
20 years in the business, my why, if you remember the original story, like my why was just to feed my newborn baby.
Mhm.
And that is a real why. Like
Yeah.
I need money, right?
Yeah.
Once I accomplished money, then I was like, I hit that plateau of like, So
Right.
money no longer was the trigger or the why for me. Then I had to go something deeper,
Find
right?
something else.
So I think that the cool thing about just human existence is your why does change.
Yeah, there's always
Right.
growth.
And there's
Yeah.
always growth, and you accomplish that. The thing is, you got to find your new why, because what drove you today isn't going to drive you tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? And so it's so cool to like when I coach people for years, I've had coaching clients for 8-9 years, to see their why was just the money, and then it was get the kid through college, and now the kid's already through college, and now it's like I just talked to one yesterday, and she's buying a second home in North Carolina on the beach, like
Yeah.
it's her. Like you can see the evolution of the
It
why.
changes.
It did say to keep it within categories, right? Well, and tell me if you agree with this, that there are 4 F's, and I don't know, I can't remember the final F is, so I'll make it up. But it was family, friends, faith, and I call it for service, but it was some other F, but that was it, because
Oh,
the
absolutely.
greatest dopamine hit is for service.
Mm.
So if those are your longest whys, those will always be the most
100%.
rewarding, right? So
That's
as long as
that's
they're
connected
nice
actually to
factors.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you ever Google that, that's
Mhm.
all how humans like. It's the basic one.
The
It's just
foundation,
food and shelter and like
Mhm.
not
Mm.
Your necessities.
getting rained on, right? But once you go towards the top of that Maslow's, it's philanthropic, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so you'll see all humans as they evolve. We were just cutting grass, barely making ends meet, and then we bought our first house, and then we got investment. Like it starts to go up. At the top, it's never about money. It's always about something that's like in your soul.
Bigger.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might have that in your soul, but if you're not financially ready, if you don't hit the other ones underneath, you could definitely want to be Mother Teresa, but you don't have the money to pay your electric bill.
Or
You
Mother
know?
Teresa.
I know.
I think one other key point that, and I know we got a whole list of questions to get through, but one other key point that ties into all this is, let's face it, we're all a little ADD. And according to
I think
some,
the realtor you have to be.
I think you have to be, but according to some of the experts that I have recently, been following and digging into, they're saying our adults are worse because of those phones. Our brains cannot process a single focus for more scroll, and they said actually we have retrained our brains to be ADD, which it can be a disadvantage when we're needing to stay focused on something.
Yeah,
So-
like I open my phone to check the weather and I never check the weather.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I open my phone for?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, crap.
As kids are getting rained on.
Exactly. I'll watch cats taking down a Christmas tree any day. I'm just saying. So,
But
yeah,
so
it's
when
really
we
easy.
switch the gear to like the
Okay.
staying focused
Okay.
or whatnot, I think the biggest thing for our industry is that there is a lot of rejection. And what advice do you give realtors on handling rejection and setbacks
over
in
it.
their career? I have felt this is coming.
Okay. Here's my recommendation. Go to Home Depot, buy some wood, build a bridge, and get over it. Okay? It is going to happen. It is going to happen. It is going to happen when you find out your best friend who you thought was going to use you to sell and buy, or your cousin, or your, whomever, but you've dropped the ball because you've not stayed in touch with them. 87% of consumers say that they would use the same agent again if they ever heard from them again.
Mhm.
There you go. That's a whole topic of discussion. But it's a tough business, and sometimes you just got to get over it, because here a lot of times, yes, it may have been you dropping the ball, or a lot of times it's them. They've got baggage in their past they don't want you to know about, especially if it's someone you know, and so that's when it's hurtful as well. But just build a bridge and get over it. Go buy one of those cute little, yard gnome things with a little bridge and just keep reminding yourself, get over it. Next,
So I always think logically, like, let me just give you an example. There's 345 million people that live in the United States. That's the population right now.
1.5 million realtors.
NAR,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
NAR, all predictions of different things. There's going to be 5 million houses sold in 2025. So you got 345 million people out here, but 5 million of them are going to buy. The 340 million don't want to buy anything from you, right? And so that's called an in the market. Out of the market's 340 million, 5 million that's in the market, right? And so the thing is, rejection is the not now thing, right? And so I've literally, in my experience, I've called someone, had a conversation on Monday. They're like, no, I don't know anybody. No, I don't want to buy or sell. And by Friday, they call and say, my wife just said she wants a divorce.
Mhm.
Life changes in 3 to 4 days. We've woken up feeling like life
Yes,
is great.
divorce
We get the worst phone call or something in our life happens. Or positive, you got a job transfer to Florida, to Chicago, right? You have to sell your house. You don't have a choice. So I think the key thing as realtors, we all have to realize is that you have to find the 5, and if you shrink it down from the 5 million to the state and then to your zip code, there's only a few thousand people that want to buy. They're not buying tennis shoes or a purse. They're buying a $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 purse. You know what I mean? And so when I hear the word no, even when I'm prospecting for new coaching clients, agents say, I just don't have the financial ability right now. That's not a no to me. That's a not right now, right? And so whenever I was heavy in prospecting, again, 2008 was rough. I was like, I gotta work. FSBOs expired, I did short sales, I did all the heavy grit stuff. There was a lot of no's until they go, oh crap, my house is gonna be taken from me. Never mind, please put a sign in my yard, right? And so I think all of us have to realize that no is actually a great thing for them to say to us. I love the word no.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, number one, I know that I don't have to keep chasing you, but I'm still gonna keep nurturing you. Does that make sense? And so kind of remember the 345 and the 5, like not everyone wants to buy our stuff. And it doesn't mean that you're the wrong person, but they just physically don't want to buy it.
And again, it goes back to the core foundation. When the home no longer meets their needs.
Yep, life cycles.
Death, divorce, job relocation, retirement, those things can happen just like that. And again, you talk to them Thursday and you get a call on Friday. I've had that happen.
Yep.
And so keeping that in mind as well. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress comes up and says, do you want more to drink? And you say no. They do not run off and cry.
They just drink it all, and then you actually
Yeah.
do want more, and then you're like, where the heck is the plate?
Really, But the point is, we get told no all the time, and it's okay. Because it's just like that waitress. They're not going to go cry because you told them no. It just means no, not right now.
Mm.
So when you hear no, just say, oh, no, not right now. Oh, no, not right now. And it's going to change your whole mindset and your whole thinking as well. And when life is giving you a chapter, you know what? And we've all had them. Just say, you know what? I'm going through this now. Right now. that tells your brain it's not gonna last.
Yep.
And you'll get through it, so.
100%.
Yeah.
So how important is ongoing education and training for realtors?
It's the make it or break it, yeah, it is.
So what
abs-
areas would you say, like, you know, since it's like important, but what areas do you think they should focus on? Specifically.
Oh, all of the above. Let me give you a visual to work off of. When I do my training, and I should have brought it in because I was sharing with Drew, I usually throw puzzle pieces at you. When you think about your business, think
She
about
doesn't
it.
literally throw them at you.
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I think that violence is not
Cool.
the
I
answer.
No, it's good.
like
It's good.
money.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
You
Throw
a
money
puzzle
at me,
piece,
but not
you
puzzle
get a
pieces.
puzzle
Yeah,
piece.
but think about your business as a big puzzle. There's lots of pieces to it. There's a lot of things you need to know, a lot of things to learn. There's always things to learn because everything's changing as well. When you read the contracts and you realize that every paragraph is in there because somebody sued somebody, it becomes a comedy. So when you think about your business, think about the puzzle.
Satire, really.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm. The puzzle. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna find, if you're gonna put a puzzle together, you're gonna find the corner pieces. You're gonna turn all the pieces up, right side up. You're gonna find the corner pieces and the ones with edges, and that's where you start. A lot of that has to do with the marketing department. How is the marketing department? You may be great and wonderful and can read me the contract inside out and backwards, but how do you let people know who you are and what you've got? So that's one piece of that puzzle. Then you build out that. I'll tell you a little secret. A lot of my training stuff that's been done through Samson is also on YouTube. So if you're ever bored some night and can't sleep,
There's
just
good stuff on.
go to YouTube, Google me, or search me, and all the stuff will come up. We have since re-recorded most of it from our studio, and it's on our Samson page, but you still can get to it. Jumpstart session 1 particularly. So you map it out. So training is ongoing. The problem that I have experienced, and I think you have as well, is agents go to this class and go, "Oh, that was good. You need to go." And then you go to it and you go, "Okay, but where does that fit with the other parts of the business?" And then you finally just go, "I give up. I'm done," and you just wander off into the park. When you realize that all these pieces start fitting together at some point, as you're putting it together. So yes, the marketing department of your business, you need to realize you are running a business. So there needs to be some structure to it. There needs to be a little component of the financial. Are you keeping that in order as well? Are you marketing on a regular basis? Do you have your buyer and seller consultations? You best, I would hope. If you want me to come back to a class on that, I will. I just trained over 700 of our Samson agents on buyer and seller consultations. Yes, I was on the road forever. So you've got to have the knowledge of the mechanics of it. So, and then mindset will make you or break you. That's why, that book of What to Say When You Talk to Yourself is a critical piece of that puzzle. Balancing in real estate is an oxymoron because I don't think it's possible at times. But so there's a lot of pieces. So education is, we need to nourish ourselves. We need to re-energize ourselves. You cannot give from an empty cup. And when you're dealing with people, you got 4 personality styles and 3 learning styles. You need to know at least a little bit about the D, I, S, and C. Yes, I'm a certified disc instructor, and the 3 learning styles, which is why the buyer consultation or the seller consultation or the newsletter or whatever it is you're using makes sense because you're hitting those.
I do have a question though. So I know there's a lot of education out there
Mhm.
to look for, like YouTube or just coming here and taking classes, but how essential do you feel role play is? Because I feel like that doesn't get done
So,
as much.
I'll answer that. I love role play. I think it's done most often incorrectly.
Mhm.
So to me, anybody I coach, specifically new agents, need role play at a high level to build your confidence. But role play needs to be with 3 people. And so people are like, why? One needs to be the agent, one needs to be the consumer, and one needs to be the observer. Because sometimes when we're role playing, we don't know what we're doing with our face. We don't know that we're pausing or saying weird things, because I do that all the time, right? And so one of the things the observer's job is to give them 3 wins and 3 opportunities. And then you rotate, and then the next person is the observer, the agent, and the client. And the thing is, you will start to, because you are we're saying things, we think we're sounding smart, But you may go, these people are not even like hitting the mark, right? Because you only hear the narrative of what you can hear and see within your perspective, right? So I think role play needs to be 3 people, not 2. I also think you need to truly focus on objections. I don't know why with real estate industries, I personally find we don't need to figure out how to like start a conversation. Most of us can kind of start the conversation, but when somebody throws out an objection or something we're not sure how to answer, that's where we freeze, right?
Right.
So we gamify everything. So when I was coaching my agents, Jenga, have you ever seen the name Jenga? So we put Jenga, and we put letters like S1, B1. So seller objection 1, buyer objection 1. And we would like have them play Jenga with each other, right? And we had a sheet. And so they're pulled B1. And so it creates a scenario and then kind of role play that. You have to start to realize there's so many objections in our industry right now.
I just feel like we don't have a lot of the role playing opportunities in this industry when I feel like it's really necessary.
Because people think it's cheesy or people think that it's awkward,
intimidating,
uncomfortable.
awkward. But I think that like really does will sculpt people in practicing what you're learning, because I think the learning part is one part of it, but then how do you put that into action without trying to make all these mistakes in the beginning? Because I feel like if you don't know how to process that information and let it out, then you're kind of like back square one.
And the other thing,
you are going to make some mistakes.
Yeah,
And that's just
right,
that's
of
part of
course.
the growth and the learning process. And what you probably do this as well, but I always ask my agents when they got done with something, okay, so what was the one thing you did really well? What's the one thing you need to work on? What's the one thing you did well? What's the one thing you work on? So all of a sudden you start identifying what you did well so that you can remember that and do it again well. Role playing is great, and I love the observer in there as well, because so often agents go in and they do their scripts. Well, scripts work really well when the other person has the script to follow along. And that's, I used to watch agents, I swear to God, I used to watch agents come in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning, from 7 to 8 o'clock they're in their scripts and they're practicing their scripts. And they get on the phone, people aren't stupid, they know you're rattling off a script, okay? It's a conversation, not an interrogation. And so, but at least if you know how to, combat it or what to say, or at least have a few tricks up your sleeve, you're able to flow better. And that's where I think that, and again, even though you guys may be with different brokerages, team up with each other.
Yeah, sure, that's better.
And say, hey, I want to practice my buyer consultation or seller consultation, or I want to practice this, or I want to practice this. Team up with somebody. And it doesn't have to always be with your brokerage.
Don't always just be so daggone nice to each other. So like I literally see people, I say that in the best way, because it's like I see them role play and they're like, she did so great, she's amazing. I'm like,
No,
that's
she didn't.
that's a cheerleader. That's not constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Like, right? So give 3 wins, give 3 opportunities. I don't say problems or anything like that. The other thing is, let's say you don't want to do role play at all, or you don't have the courage to like grab 1 or 2, 3 more people. Just record yourself. So literally, this is what I did, and you can still get them on Amazon for like $10. And that sounds.
Just give me the ick, man.
Is I have a little recorder that I bought. Literally, I could show you. It's like a little recorder, and I stick it in my pocket. So when I go on a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, I hit play. I throw it in my little pocket here, and I'm hearing myself. So I do my listing presentation, real life, in the kitchen with the seller. I go home and I listen to myself. I go, she asked this question, what did I say? I like take notes. Think of it like a high school football game. They have a plan, then they play the game, and then they watch the film back to see if they did it. We don't do that, and it drives me like, how are we going to get consecutively better if we don't just keep that repetition, right?
Yeah, that's that evaluation too. Like you gotta evaluate.
And it's
Because you're your boss.
Download the free
You
tape
can-
recorder app
on your phone. And the thing is, you're not going to send it to anybody.
It'll
It's
still record while your
100%.
phone is closed.
The
Just
memo-
don't post it on social media.
No.
If a buyer or seller
no,
says something.
it's not for any public use.
No.
It's for your self-critique. Because
In Virginia, you're allowed to record if
One
only
person,
knows, so you actually
so
don't need to
legally
find
you are
it.
correct. I know, I already Googled that.
Just
I-
don't
I-
post stuff on so because you know how people like be taking screenshots
But let's
of
be
text
honest,
messages.
I'm not posting that. I'm not posting that anyway because I didn't like. No one probably will nail it 100%, right? So, but the crazy thing is, I have done that, and we've done it together with coaching someone. And I said, go through your 3 wins and go through your 3 opportunities by hearing your own recording. And then I do it with them, and it's interesting. Like we don't have the same 3 wins. We don't have the same because most of us beat ourselves up harder than we would our friend and our neighbor, right? And so that's a different spin on role play. Like, I thought you're making phone calls. You're not gonna hear what they're saying because you're on the phone, but sit your little record. I know it's crazy, but you can buy them for $10. And I'm like, oh, I didn't ask that question. I had it written down, but I chickened out. Or I was like, I said the question, but I screwed it up. Like I didn't say it the way I was supposed to do. So I definitely think that's a technique.
Awesome.
Oh, I think I had one more. What else did
But continued education too is a key. It's a make it or break it because this industry is always changing. We're growing. We're in a different,
especially
it's a
pandemic.
different market.
Yeah.
You know, so
NAR
it's,
settlement, like all of these
Yeah.
major changes. But so what would you say? We have about a few minutes left before we get someone to come on vision boards, and you can stay after and answer any other questions that people might have. But what would you say is like the number one thing as a coach you bring to the table to somebody who wants to grow their career? Like, what is like your significance as a coach? Why is
I
it
think
so
everyone
top?
should have a coach because it gives you perspective that you're never going to get on your own. NFL players have multiple coaches; they don't just have one, right? And so, if you're going to truly be a pro in this business, I would say there's 3 phases of every opportunity in real estate. Training should always be first, right? Your brokerages all offer training. I don't care what brokerage you're at. You don't use enough of the trainings they're offering. I see agents all the time. I'm going to switch from one brokerage to another, and then I say independent contractor. I'm like, okay, I don't care where you go, but did you use all the training opportunities at the brokerage you were currently at? Well, no. Okay, so training's number 1. Second is mentorship, right? Having someone. I literally he was 62 years old. Had been in the business forever. I was like, I just want to be in your car. I'll buy you coffee. I literally stalked this man. I went to the courthouse. He taught me how to like pull deeds and different things. Having a mentor, having someone to shadow. Go on a listing appointment where you shut up and let them list it. You're just there to observe, right? You're their assistant. I don't care what you say you are. But the second thing is mentorship. To be able, you can see it in action. Because we do everything in training rooms, and that's great. But you're hitting the road and you're actually in someone's kitchen and you got a 3-year-old screaming and you got the dog barking and all the things that we experience, you got to be able to still perform, right? Call it the dog and pony show. Like we got to do it. Like we got to do our dog and pony show. So training, mentorship. Then you get to a coach. You got to find one that works for you. I had 4 coaches, 2, God bless them, but they're not my cup of tea. And 2 kicked my butt in a good way, right? And so I think coaching brings out, you have to be vulnerable to it. Everybody says accountability. Accountability shows up, you're like, dang, that hurt.
Yeah, it's
That
hard.
stings. That's whatever. And maybe you even need more than you thought. And so be vocal with your coach and say, hey, I need more accountability, or I need you to be a little bit more direct, or I need you to be softer. Like it's okay, it's a relationship with your coach. So make sure you can understand how to pull and push with each other.
absolutely, I agree. We have, as a new agent, we have mentors to help us through the transaction to keep us out of court. Then again, we're independent contractors, but we're not alone in this industry, and we shouldn't be. We need each other to say, hey, that was good, that we've done that a little bit better. Do you realize that you say after every sentence, and you may not even realize it. So, those things are great. All of your brokerages have them. There's independent companies that have them as well. You talk about, you've got to be open to it. And usually when I'm doing classes, I will usually ask, may I have your permission to be blunt and honest with you, tell you what you need to know, not always what you want to hear. Good, because it's going to come out anyway. Hear my heart, forgive my mouth. And I was meeting with one group, and they were, and I went, and they said, ooh, we don't like that look. I said, y'all gave me permission, right? And they said yes. And I said, good. So I just lovingly let them have it. And the one looked at the other one and she goes, I think she just handed it us.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but I did it on a silver platter. And they go, yeah, you did. All right. So, but again, you have to be open to that. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, is for someone to point out those things. But I think it's valuable to have. And again, if you're not in a position yet that you can write that into the budget, kind of sort of team up with someone.
Yep.
Say, hey, hold me accountable. You know, I do a 10:30 Monday morning, Zoom call with my gang, and it's called Boost. It's to give you your boost first thing in the morning. And what's the one thing, great book by the way, what's the one thing that you need to do and focus on this week, and give yourself a score on a scale of 1 to 5. How would you rate your last week? Did you hit everything you needed to do? Did you not hit? It's okay, whatever it is, it is. But being self-aware is also a great coaching tool as well. So, there you go.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
We're gonna be sending out the email with some of the tools that you had mentioned.
Okay.
Books, the strategy,
Yep. The daily
all
task and
those
the
tools,
5, 4, 3, 2,
so
1.
that everybody can have that to use and to share. And then we're gonna be starting our lunch and vision board activity. I'm really excited. So now you have like a foundation of like where to start with this vision board. So everybody, bless you. Everybody has like their big whys. Let's try to paint this out and I guess have a good 2025. Thank you all
Yeah.
for joining,
You're welcome.
and
Thank you,
please
guys.
stick around
Thank
for any
you.
questions and
We
help
sure
people.
will. I sure will.